All right, this is a really cool room. This room is called Processing the Past, and it's a really powerful and misunderstood room. And I just want to start by saying I want you to tread lightly in this room because it's something that you want to approach skillfully. And these are probably some new skills. So you're probably not going to step into them and be an expert right out of the gate. So this room comes from this really amazing set of research from Sue Johnson, who's the creator of what's called emotionally focused therapy, which was all really about attachment styles and helping people to really deeply connect with what's going on inside of them when we get stuck as couples. And what she found in her research was that some couples just couldn't make progress in therapy because they couldn't forgive the other person for what she called emotional injuries. And these are basically moments from the past where they hurt each other's feelings and they hadn't forgiven it. Now, what's interesting is there's a big spectrum of what these incidents could be, but often they're things that to an outside party just don't seem like that big a deal. For example, my wife and I had a big incident, I guess about a year ago, over my birthday. And an outsider would just say, well, that just sounds like bad communication. But it hit both of us on a deeper level. And so that's why it kind of elevated to being something that needed to be processed. Um, and that's what's so interesting is all couples have these moments, but some of them are able to sort of process it and let go, and others can't. So you might be wondering, well, what is it that allows some couples to let go of it and others not to? And we don't know for sure, but the most likely candidate is this really amazing concept from psychology called the Zeigarnik effect. And the Zeigarnik effect basically is all about unfinished business. It was a psychologist in Vienna in the early 1900s, and she developed this while sitting in cafes and watching waiters take people's orders. And she was amazed to see how they could take a really long, complicated order, remember it perfectly, deliver it to the kitchen, and then they could keep moving on. And they kept doing this without making mistakes. So she did something really interesting. She started interviewing them right after they had delivered the order, the contents of the order to the kitchen. And what she found was while they remembered it perfectly up until that point, they started forgetting immediately after that. And so it's this notion that as humans, unfinished business takes up a disproportionate amount of our brain. And so while that's good in other contexts, it's not as a couple because we need to be able to release these things so that we can get back to enjoying all the great things about our relationship. And so in essence, these past incidents end up becoming like rocks in our backpack. One of the things that was interesting in my interviews of entrepreneurial couples, and particularly older ones, was I saw that a lot of them had these unresolved issues from the period in life where one or both of them were just hyper focused on building a business. And these moments of disconnection just never got circled back to and resolved. All right, so here's the tool you can use to help process these past incidents. And I want to reiterate, you want to tread lightly because it's going to take a while to build skill. So I would say take an issue that's like a 2 or a 3 out of 10 on the intensity scale. Do not go to some of the hardest things. And here's basically how it works. So there's 5 steps, and the first thing you want to do, of course, is start by affirming each other. I value the relationship. I appreciate you, and I want to work on this because I want to be closer to you. So step number 1 is you think of this event and you share your feelings with no explanation. So it could be something like sad, isolated, scared, uh, frustrated, misunderstood, and whatever they are, just share them and just take them in. Then you switch. The second thing you do is you share your recollection of the event in first person language. So, what I remember was I came home from being away during the day and it was my birthday. And then I saw you and I thought you had a disinterested look on your face as I wanted to share about, what was happening with my birthday. So you can see it's like an autobiography. You avoid saying you avoid pretending like you have sort of like the God camera and you know exactly what happened. You just share your subjective interpretation. Um, and keep it reasonably short, because we can get lost in the details and kind of relitigating them. Then you trade to the other person. Then third, you share why you got triggered from this event. So what outside of the relationship, what from your upbringing or what from elsewhere in your life made this especially significant? Um, and I think in my case, to use that birthday example, it was that I think I always felt like I wasn't supposed to be the center of attention, that that was kind of wrong, that was, not humble, it was not the way I was raised, and so I felt like that was kind of not available to me. The fourth thing you do is you take responsibilities for some part in the event. So it's not everything, but in that example, I could say something like, I really didn't do a good job of communicating what my needs were, and I think I had been a little bit unsettled by this other thing that had happened at work, and so I was really just kind of disconnected personally from even what I needed in that moment. And then the last thing you do is you share one thing your partner can do differently the next time something like this happens to make it better, and you share one thing that you commit to doing better the next time to make an incident like this go better. And then you just breathe. You give your partner a hug, you thank them for being committed to you and the relationship, and you tell them that you love them. It's a pretty powerful process.